Darbas su gėlėmis neromantiškesnis negu darbas banke, kur tavo skaičiuojami pinigai tau nepriklauso. Taip apie verslą, kadaise atvedusi į Lietuvą, pasakojo Olandas Leonardus, prašantis vadinti jį tiesiog Leo. Linksmų plaučių verslininkas buvo vienas pirmųjų iš Nyderlandų į mūsų kraštą importavusių gėles. O šiandien tautiečių vaikams Lietuvoje jis virsta olandiškojų kalėdų seneliu. Vadinkite mane Leo, prašo Olandas Leonardus, Lietuvoje gyvenantis jau 24 metus. Jo bute Vilniuje gausu paveikslų ir prisiminimų. Iš jaunystės Nyderlanduose ir iš šių laikų, kai 1996-aisiais su sūnėnu vieni pirmųjų ėmė importuoti į Lietuvą olandiškas gėles.
I was working for a flower export company in the Netherlands, and they were looking for new countries to widen the market. So after research, they decided to go to Lithuania because Lithuanians like flowers. So in December 96 we arrived, actually a few months earlier, because we are in a wholesale firm, so we had to build cool stores and so on, offices. And we arrived in December, and you know what I remember? This very strong winter and the snow, because in the Netherlands, well, sometimes we have snow, but not that much. So my first Christmas in Lithuania, in Vilnius, it was -20. It was amazing. So besides the culture shock, because, well, if you were raised in the Netherlands and you come to Lithuania, especially in 96, it was quite different, I tell you. But still fascinating. And I never regret that I made this first step to Lithuania. My friends always, when I'm in the Netherlands, they ask, "And Leo, when you will come back?" I said, "I don't come back. Why I should come back to the Netherlands? Yeah, but it's better here." And they have all kinds of fancy ideas about this former Russian republics. They think life is terrible, but I tell you, and I always say, I feel my homeland is the Netherlands, but I feel home in Lithuania. So 23 years you don't stay in a country which you don't like.
Prieš atvykdamas į Lietuvą Leonardus apie ją žinojo nedaug. Tiesa, daug po pasaulį keliavusio atviro širdies Olando tai nekiek neišgąsdino, tačiau susidurti su sunkumais teko.
Of course, it was in the news in the Netherlands when it was 1990 when Lithuania became independent. And at school, well, I still remember you had this like provinces in the Netherlands. You had to and then say Estland, Letland, Litouwen. So you learn it by heart. But for the rest, we know it's all Russian. We got nothing to do with it. And before I emigrated to Lithuania, of course I had some books about it, but it's more touristic information. You had to do it by yourself. You had to find out everything. And believe me, I think the first year I lost 10 kilograms because I could not find the food like it was is in the Netherlands. You know, you had the small kiosks. Only the brothers Ortiz, with Iki, it was the first supermarket, I think. And so, but still not comparable with the Netherlands. So, and still, if I compare the Netherlands with Lithuania, I say the Netherlands is very luxury. They got everything, but they still complain.
Rūkymą. Viena iš prigimtinių žmogaus teisų laikantis Leonardu sako, kad cigaretė jam ne kartą padėjo ir susipažinti, ir susikalbėti. Nors lietuvių kalbos jis ėmė mokytis vos atvažiavęs į Lietuvą, Leo ją vadina kietu riešutėliu. Ir nors šiandien susikalbėti lietuviškai gali, linksmų nesusipratimų dėl kultūrinių skirtumų išvengti vis vien nepavyko.
A friend of mine, he met a very nice, beautiful Lithuanian woman. So he bought 3 yellow roses, and they made an appointment in a restaurant, and he gave her the flowers. And she said, "Oh, you could do this by telephone." "Oh, what do you mean?" If you want to end this relationship, don't give me these flowers, because as he informed me, yellow was a color, and 3 is not very common to give 3, or maybe it were 4 flowers. But it was the numbers of flowers, and this was signal to the lady itself. I don't know if it's true, but it's a nice story. And also we had this in Christmas. We had this special Christmas decorations. We imported them from the Netherlands, and there were 4 candles. And I asked myself, I don't understand, why don't we sell them? Are they too expensive? She said, no, they are not too expensive. They are quite nice. But 4 candles is for funerals. So I said, take one out. This is actually memory lane. All nice things I did in the Netherlands is hanging here. And this is a picture when I was 16, 17 years old. I was playing in a band, playing the guitar and singing. And that's why I told you, in your memory, it's always better when you were young. So my first experience with the guitar again, well, was quite disappointing. No, because my fingertips were really hurting, and well, it was such a nice time. We went all over in the Netherlands.
Nors ir nusivylė savo gebėjimais groti gitara, minties įvaldyti šį instrumentą iš naujo Leonardas neatsisako, o kol kas nutarė patobulinti savo vokalinius sugebėjimus ir ėmė mokytis dainuoti.
Send me a postcard, drop me a line, stating point of view. Indicate precisely what you mean to say. You're sincerely wasting away. Give me your answer, fill in a form. Mine forevermore. Will you still need me? Will you still fit me when I'm 64? Ooh. And that's it.
Kartais Leo traukiamos cigaretės tampa ir konfliktų su kaimynais priežastimi, bet Olandas pabrėžia, kad tokių nesusipratimų gali nutikti bet kur pasaulyje.
I will send it to my family in the Netherlands about the new rules. Don't smoke on the balcony.
Gėlėmis Leo nebeprekiauja. Lietuvoje jis buvo ne tik aktyvus verslininkas, bet ir Europos verslininkų tinklo tarybos narys bei iždininkas. Vyras buvo vienas tų, kurie šią organizaciją prieš 12 metų subūrė, paprašius Olandijos, Airijos ir Portugalijos ambasadoriams. Kartais jis virsta olandiškojų kalėdų seneliu. Vaikams dažniausiai būdavo skirtos ir Leo inicijuotos labdaros akcijos. Tiesa, jis dosnus mecenatas ir meno pasaulyje.
In the beginning, we were sponsors of SOS 5K, and we did a lot of things. In the first, we brought by our trucks toys, clothes for children, but it was quite rather difficult because, you know, these regulations with the customs. So my sister in the Netherlands, she started to raise money, and we were in this children's home. So first of all, we installed a complete new kitchen. Later on, we bought some industrial dishwashers and dryers, but yeah, the enthusiasm of the people in the Netherlands and here was fading away, so we stopped with it. I found out that the cultural life in Lithuania was absolutely great. I was a fan of classic music, but also other music. So I sponsored the orchestra of Maestro Rinkavicius. I was every week. I had a concert over there, and Mr. Rinkavicius, he is a great conductor, and the repertoire. Well, but on the other hand, I noticed when I came in this concert hall, there were also a lot of children, teenagers. If you see this in the Netherlands, you won't see that much. But I think, and I ask people, they raise the children for some cultural events. They educate the children. So that was amazing for me. And I had so many pleasure over there. And still I'm going opera house. So the cultural is still really great.
Negyventum 23 metus šalyje, kuri tau nepatinka, sako mūsų šios dienos herojus Olandas Leo. 1996 metais jis su sūnėnu į Lietuvą atvyko importuoti gėlių. Ir nors gėlių versle senokai nebedirba, kadaise užsimezgę kontaktai nenutrūko, o buvę kolegos gėlininkai apie Leonardą iki šiol atsiliepia itin šiltai.
Kas yra?
Va.
Dabar jūs turite man telefonus. Gerai. Šitą rožės Olandija?
Olandiškos superklasas.
Superklasas.
Jo, aš daug metų einu, gerai laikosi, gera rožė yra. Tvirta.
Bet labai...
Nebijo taip karščio, taip...
Ne, labai stiprios rožės.
Jo, stiprios.
Taip.
Nostalgijos gėlių verslui Leo sako nejaučiantis. Esą tai nebuvo romantiška veikla, kaip daugelis įsivaizduoja.
I always say to my staff, it's not a pagoda, like a museum. Flowers you have to sell. There is no argumentation, no discussion about that. You can't keep them for, at least 1 week. But in our opinion, they have to be sold within 2, 3, max 4 days. So that's... and you met people, and they all say, "Oh, you work with flowers, how nice." I said, "What do you mean nice? I had to wake up at 4:45. It's like you're working in a bank. Okay, in a bank you have a lot of money, but it's not yours. And you can say, oh, I'm fascinated by money or fascinated by flowers. No, the only worry you have at that moment is, when will I sell them?" That keeps on going on. But later on we sold the film because to Dutch standards it was not very profitable.
Pijūnai iš Lenkijos.
Iš Lenkijos, ir lietuviški pijūnas.
Pražydėjo pas mane.
Pražydėjo?
Bet jau jie...
Nu, aš jau daug metų užsiminėjau gėlėmis, perku gėlės iš bazių, ir čia mažmeninė prekyba užsiimam. Tada, reiškia, Baltijos gėlėse dirbo Leonardas. Ir prieš tai buvo seniai, prieš kažkur 13-15 metų. Atsidarė jų bazė Baltijos gėlės ir Leonardas buvo, reiškia, viršininko pavaduotojas arba direktorius pavaduotojas, Richardo tokio. Taip ir susipažinom, aš imdavau pas juos pastoviai gėlės ir draugavom. Atvažiuoji, priima gražiai, nusišypso, geras žmogus. Visur draugiškai atvažiuoji, priima tave, kavutė dar pavaišina ir panašiai.
Kas Lietuvoje labiausiai stebina?
Your temperature. I like winters. I like the cold winters like the first years in Lithuania, when it was minus 20, 24, a lot of snow on the pavements. I like it so much. And now it's gone. We don't have winters anymore. I always knew Christmas is in Lithuania, it's white. New Year's Eve, it's white. And this last year, we had green Christmas, green New Year's Eve. So, I miss it.
Kas Lietuvoje jums labiausiai patinka?
Well, it's not so crowded like the Netherlands. If you want to go to nature, well, in Lithuania there is nature. And if you go here to nature, you can be alone. In the Netherlands, you can forget. There is, in the Netherlands, always noise. Or you hear a train, or planes, or traffic. And when it's sunny, everyone is going to the same place, to the beach, or, well, we have 17.5 million inhabitants in the Netherlands, so there must be a difference. And that's what you can see. So, I like Lithuania because of their possibilities to go to the coast, to the nature, and not to be absorbed by people. You can be here quite alone if you want.
Kuo skiriamės?
In my first impression was, and sometimes still is, Lithuanians doesn't like to smile. Sometimes they are quite, well, unpolite. But now I'm speaking about 96 and a few years. Now it's all changed. If you go to a restaurant, first of all, they all speak English or another language. Their attitude is far much friendly than ever before. Lithuanians are living in a post-communistic country. So they are quite, if there is a new Istatime, or they are going to follow. In the Netherlands, immediately we have a discussion. No, we don't do this. Here, a rule is a rule immediately. The Dutch need time to adjust and to discuss it. And, well, that's the difference between the Dutch and, I think, Lithuanians. But not all Lithuanians, because maybe there are also among Lithuanians discussions about things. I don't know.
Kas Lietuvoje nepatinka?
I don't like when people are conservative, when people are afraid. Conservative and to be afraid is a deadly combination. You had to go forward. History doesn't dictate your future. And sometimes I think, okay, your experience an absolutely terrible time with Germans, with the Russians, but you cannot hang on it. You have to build your future again. We had the same. I had a discussion with people about their fears about Russia. I think when you want to go on in the future, you had to develop a certain relation with your enemies. And for example, I read this nonsense about this Lukacia square, where your fantastic mayor, I am absolutely a fan of him, he made this beach. Okay, so this is so typical Lithuanian, and because then history and what's happening now is combining itself. One said, no, this square, it's only for our heroes in the past. And the mayor said, no, we had a terrible time with the coronavirus. So bring some spirit in your city. So I like this. So this is what I want to say. Don't stick in the past. Come on. We won't ever forget what was happening, but you had to go on. And don't let your life be dictated by the past.
Ko palinkėtumėte Lietuvai ir lietuviams?
The only what worries me is the gap between rich and poor, especially the elder people. People who are retired, I hear sometimes how much they get a month, 200, 300 or 400 euros. Now you know the prices in the supermarkets or markets. It's quite expensive. So I think for the politicians it is a duty to take care of the elderly and retired people, especially in the countryside. Medical care is not always brilliant. Here it's in Vilnius, but I always say Vilnius is quite different. If you speak about Lithuanian, you don't speak about Vilnius only, because the life in Vilnius and the life on the countryside, it is different. So I would say politicians, take care of your older people, because they had a rough time. They had the occupations of the Germans, Polish people, the Russians. Another absolutely which worries me is the immigration of younger people to Europe. You have to ask yourself the question why. I can tell you, because there's no work, the salaries are quite low comparing to Britain, Ireland or the Netherlands. So we have to think about it. How can we get back those younger people? What do we have to do? We have to create jobs. So, and that is one of my things I never understood. Why there is no big factory here for producing cars. Even in the Netherlands we have a big factory where they produce cars. You have a brilliant infrastructure, you have a harbor, you have a highway. Why is there not in the middle near Kaunas a big plant and work for 5, 6, 7,000 people? Why? Yeah, that's the question you have to ask yourself. So, because the younger generation who are fleeing to other countries, how many they will come back? And if they not come back, the people here getting older and older. So then in the future you have only older people. You have to pay them pension, less tax. So I think this is also a matter of politics. You have to set yourself goals. Not only surviving, no, you have to look to the future and say, well, this has to be done. Jobs. But I'm not a politician.